Okay, y'all. Is it okay if I vent for a bit? The Dallas Stars lost once again in the conference finals, this time to another Pacific Division team. Last year was Vegas, this year now it is the Edmonton Oilers. First off, I want to say congratulations to Oilers fans. Y'all have had a roller coaster of a season and a magical one to be sure. I mean, they have fixed almost every issue I've had with them since the beginning of this season to really become a special team this year and a team that looks like it's a team of destiny. And that series versus Florida is going to be bonkers. Really, it's great for the NHL. We have McDavid versus this stacked team in general versus Florida. It is going to be a circus and I cannot wait for that. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. I would be lying if I said that I didn't think this team was the team of destiny. I mean, once the Canes were out, to me, I thought the Stars were the best team left, and it was supposed to be our year, man. And you also consider the schedule where we had to face Vegas in round one and just barely winning that series against a team, really a sleeping giant in Vegas who came out with all the guns right at the start of the playoffs. Extremely proud of the Stars team for getting past them. And then you go into that second round matchup with the Avs, and they're really looking good versus the Jets. They are steaming hot to start out the playoffs, and I was kind of concerned, especially early on in that series, where the Stars really fit in, but eventually they were able to get it done and also beat the Avs in round two. So beating Vegas and Colorado, who you could make the case at the time being the best two teams in the Western Conference besides Dallas, was pretty impressive. And man, going into this Western Conference final, I was still pretty confident in the Stars. And even though that game one really did not go the Stars' way, I was there for game two. I was there cheering in the AAC, hoping to turn this series around, and they did. Even though it was scary and they once again had a horrible start, they were just able to seek through the win. And considering how good of a road team they were, I was confident they'd at least get a game or maybe even two and really get the momentum in this series. And in game three, I thought it was a really solid game for the Stars in a lot of ways. Even though they started off badly again, having two back-to-back goals allowed in that first period, they came out in the second, scored three straight, and eventually Robertson came up with a clutch goal to make it 4-3. And at that point, I thought the sky was the limit. And then you have in game four, the Stars have a great start to the game. They're leading 2-0, Johnston a goal, and then Lindell off of Nurse's butt. I mean, it couldn't have gone better than that to start out. But then Ryan Suter decides to absolutely give up in front of the net, just destroying Jake Ottinger, and this is where everything would go wrong. The Oilers would score another goal after this too, and then the Matthias Janmark shorthanded goal was pretty much the death sentence. I mean, letting Matthias Janmark actually finish on a play, you might as well just give up the series. And really, the Stars did. But then you have that game five, and as much as Peter DeBoer would like to say otherwise, that team just absolutely quit, man. It was unfortunate, especially at home, to see just the Oilers steamroll them with speed, steamroll them with possession, and it didn't have to be that way. There were various points in this series where the Stars were a combined unit, where they were rolling out all the lines, and the chemistry was a major factor. But they just weren't showing up in game five, simply put, and it really cost them the series. That much of a disappointing effort at home is not going to set the tempo well. And then you give that Oilers team, you give Oilers fans in that rocking Rogers crowd the ability to control the play, and even though they were horrible in game six, it doesn't matter how you play still. It only matters how you get the win, and with the Oilers getting 10 shots, I mean, they just coasted after those first two goals. Of course, power play goals, but it was self-inflicted wounds by the Stars. It was just all these different things that just shot themselves in the foot continually. And even though they got it close in the end, even though they had some life because of Mason Marchment, it really wasn't meant to be. What's most disappointing about this is that in almost every single way, I thought the Stars team was better than they were last year. Jake Ottinger had a much better playoffs, and that was really the most important thing for me. He showed up in a lot of big ways and was one of the big reasons why this series was even close to begin with. I thought the defense was majorly improved. Chris Tennant was a huge addition for them, and I thought at points Ryan Suter especially had a better playoffs than he did before, but there were a couple of just bad matchups. Suter got caved in. Heiskanen had just played so much for the playoffs. It just didn't look like he had any gas in this series, and he was really quite horrible too. On the forward group, I thought we had better depth. We had more performances from the youth and the veterans. You had Johnston playing like a superstar, Logan Stankoven coming in as a full-time NHLer and looking great in the playoffs too. You had Sagan with some big performances, Jamie Benn looking as good as ever. A lot of great things on the outside that you would have thought would have provided more success. It absolutely stings though, man, because of so much different disappointments in different series over the past few years. I mean, the Stars team has been all over the place. They've gone to the Western Conference Final multiple times. They've gone to the Stanley Cup Final just to lose to Tampa Bay. They've gone and been deep so many times now. And obviously, I would take that. I'd rather be the Dallas Stars and the Buffalo Sabres, but it also raises the expectations year after year, wanting more and more, especially considering how much has been made of the Stars' future and how young all of their players are. The expectations are just more and more. And when you fail to even get an inch better than last year, an inch farther, that hurts. I think the major difference in this series, though, was just the health and the status and the play of the top players on both teams. I mean, you just compare and contrast. The Oilers have McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Bouchard all playing up to their best levels. I mean, Zach Hyman looked like an absolute superstar in this series. The Oilers just were able to put him out every single time and get some type of momentum out of him. The Stars just had no match for it. You compare that to the Stars, where Roope Hintz wasn't healthy to start out the series, and he definitely was not healthy even when he played. I don't care what anybody says, Hintz was not close to 100%. Jason Robertson had his moments in this series, had a couple of clutch moments, but besides that was largely ineffective at, again, establishing zone pressure, getting the chances he needed to. There were obviously exceptions to that, but he was not the superstar that the Stars needed. Heiskanen, again, had some moments here and there, but defensively it was just ran into the ground. I don't blame him for playing poorly at different points, but man, he was just playing so much that it's honestly impossible to expect him to actually play up to that level, especially versus an Oilers team that was relentless in their attack. Heiskanen, just with all the mileage he had in these playoffs, stood no chance. Wyatt Johnston continued to carry them in a lot of ways, getting the only goal in Game 5, but also was just failing to get as much pressure as he needed to and was unable to really finish, especially in that last game, unfortunately. Jamie Benn was a non-factor in this series in a lot of ways. He wasn't somebody that was able to provide much finish at all. Joe Pavelski, I mean, he had an okay Game 6 in terms of generating chances, but besides that was a non-factor throughout these playoffs. Matt Duchene, just incredibly individual and the worst version of himself really in this series, and he got completely neutralized. You could point to basically anybody in that top 6, and although there were chances here and there, the Oilers stopped it when it mattered most, and Stuart Skinner was there when it mattered most, and that's really the end of the story. But that's just the thing, man. There were still so many memories. I mean, I got to go to my first playoff game for Game 2, and those will always be cherished memories for me. I don't know how I hadn't gone to a playoff game yet, but it was just something where I was always streaming or always doing something with the channel that kind of got in the way of that, but it was magical. It was amazing, and I got to see a win. I mean, it was one of only 2 in this series for the Stars, so I'll take it. But man, if you guys can make it worth it next year and actually get it done so I can see a cup in my lifetime, I would appreciate that. Literally the only championship I've ever had cheering for my team has been the Texas Rangers last year. That has pretty much been it. I wasn't a Mavs fan back in 2011. I wasn't watching basketball yet. The Rangers somehow are the only team that has made me happy in a true championship way in my lifetime. I never would have expected that, but here we are. Just give me one. That's all I'm asking for. If I can see Logan Stankoven lifting the cup next season, it will make it all worth it. We have a great chance next year. Bring back Tanev. Do whatever you can to make that happen. And let's ride. Now we're gonna get to the Stars offseason, what they could do to get over the hump next year, but first I want to share you guys my sleeper picks for today. Because the Stanley Cup Final isn't happening for a few more days, I don't have the option yet to do NHL picks, but because the Mavs are still in it, you know what, even though this is a hockey channel, we're gonna make some basketball picks here. But if you want to get started making NBA, NHL picks, whatever sport you want to do, Sleeper is the place to do it. And today I got Luka more than 8.5 points in the first quarter. I mean, the Mavs are gonna come out big in that first half. I got Jaylen Brown less than 5.5 points in the first quarter, and then Kyrie Irving more than 23.5 points. I know the Celtics are looking incredible, but dang it, I'm going to put some faith in the Mavs because that's all I have left. But if you guys want to sign up, go in the description, sign up using promo code GRAB, and you'll get up to an $100 deposit match on your first deposit there. Highly recommend it. And of course, Sleeper is a big reason why I've been able to make so many videos for you guys over the playoffs, and it is highly appreciated. Any of you guys that sign up, and start today if you can with Sleeper Fantasy. Now, let's talk about the Stars offseason, what they could do in the future, because to me, it is going to be a fascinating one. Now, looking at the RFAs they have this offseason, there's only a couple that could get a little bit higher AAVs, I would say. Tidal Andrea likely going to be around league minimum. I mean, he wasn't really doing much to really go past that. Sam Steele had a really good season for the Stars in a defensive fourth-line center role, and as a player in that role, he did pretty well. You can't really ask for much more. Then on the defensive side, though, this is where things are going to get interesting. interesting. You got Nils Lundqvist as an RFA. If I'm him, I'm absolutely requesting a trade. I mean, they have put no effort or stock into Lundqvist at all over the past year. I mean, when they did play him in the playoffs, I literally played him like 5 minutes a night. Not really much you can do there. But to me, Lundqvist maybe is a guy that if the Stars are going to offload a D this offseason, maybe he gets more of an opportunity, but I just don't really feel like the Stars trust him with anything at all. But really, the big RFA is Thomas Harley, who has really put himself in a major position. Sure, I didn't love his series versus Edmonton, but man, has this guy broken out in a major way with the puck moving ability, the skating. He got 15 goals this year, 47 points in 79 games, and even though this playoffs was still kind of average, I would say, he was still a great puck mover and was doing what he did best. And to me, at 22 years old, a guy that's going to be 23 starting next season, this guy is still the limit for him. There are, of course, issues to correct, but he's still getting better and better, and the defensive game has come a long way. He is going to get a really interesting deal. It'll be fascinating to see whether they want to sign him long-term or to a shorter-term deal. They might have to go with a bridge contract, honestly, because Harley's played himself to a level where he could get much more than expected. Considering the Stars have $15.9 million in cap space this offseason, it isn't nothing, but that money is going to dry up quickly, especially if Harley is signed. Now, playing the stay or go game with the UFAs is also pretty interesting. First, you got Yanni Hakanpää on the defense. To me, he is absolutely a get rid of UFA. To me, no doubt in this case. He got injured right at the wrong time, obviously, this year, but I still don't think he would have gotten a lot of minutes if he hadn't gotten injured. He provides a lot of physicality, but not much more than that. And you are kind of wanting more in that defensive role. There's a lot of times where he just flat out gets beat on the wall. He just allows too many opportunities in the slot, and for the role he plays is just not good enough defensively at this stage to keep him long term. You got Joe Pavelski, and this is going to break my heart, man. I don't know if he retires, what happens, but there is no question that he declined in a major way this year. Even though it was only a 10-point difference between 2023 and 2024, I mean, there was a major difference in the possession, in the way he was playing, the impact offensively, and you saw that in the playoffs really manifesting, where he got 4 points in 19 games, only 1 goal. It was just a brutal showing for him, and I would not be surprised if he retires. I would be sad to see it happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. If he comes, though, back on a pretty low AAV deal, obviously you keep him. The character there is still unbelievable, and I still think he could be a 40, 50-point guy. Matt Duchene is going to be a weird one. He signed, of course, that rental deal of $3 million. I'm not sure if he does that again. I think it was kind of a prove-it deal for him to try to recapitalize on his value, and I think he did an okay job this year. Regular season-wise, he was incredible with Marchment, with Sagan. Those three were brilliant together, really, and you can see 65 points in 80 games. Regular season-wise, he was great. Of course, had that huge OT goal versus Colorado. Really, besides that big moment, Duchene wasn't really an impact player in the playoffs, and that's kind of what I think you have to grapple with if you're Dallas, is if you want to bring back that player, especially if he wants term. I think you could kind of just get rid of him, get maybe a depth player, kind of put Stankoven in that role like he kind of was already, and be fine with that long term. And to me, I don't think they'd be hurting too much. If he asks for more than he got this last year, more than $3 million, I think you have to say no. Then we go into the goaltending side with Scott Wedgwood, and I love Wedge. I love the character that he is. I would say, though, if you could find a better backup in this free agency period, then you might want to go after that. I'm not sure how many guys would actually fit that bill. I thought Rittich would have been a great addition, but of course, he signed a contract extension with LA. But an .899 save percentage, he's a backup. It's not going to make or break the Stars next year, but I do think if you can get an upgrade, rest Ottinger a little bit more, that to me is the key here. And then on to the last major UFA for me, and of course that is absolutely Chris Tanev. I mean, you saw the difference in the Stars defense. You saw how much it changed with Tanev in the lineup and without, and when he got injured versus Edmonton, how much that was a scare for the Stars and how much that affected their defensive game, and how he got injured, and it really changed the tide of that series. It really did. And even when he was back, he wasn't nearly 100%, and that really affected him quite a bit. But I do think if this is a player you can keep, I mean, he's shown just how good he can be in his role. He's Hakanpää, but actually as advertised, and has so much experience and has just so much to offer. And even at his age, even though he will be turning 35 this year, he's still somebody that hasn't really shown much wear and tear. He really hasn't shown too much of a decline. And to me, he's somebody that you have to find a way to keep it might have to provide some turn back, but it felt like Tanev really enjoyed his time in Dallas, and we'll see if that affects his decision in a major way. If I'm Tanev, I'd probably hit the open market because my value is at a great level, and you could probably get a multi-year deal on a great AAV, but man, I hope he takes a pay cut to stay in Dallas because we loved him here. But like I said, and potentially letting Matt Duchene go, I don't think there's a lot that they need to do this offseason, especially with the youth they have coming up. Johnston is going to take another step. You have Stankoven as a full-time rookie next year. You're going to have Maverick Bork as well as a full-time rookie. He's somebody that I think should also get a look inside that top 9 next year, and it fits a lot of the needs already that the Stars have. Now, there really aren't a ton of guys that I think would be bottom 6 caliber for the Stars that I really want to see them go after. One guy, though, that really sparks to mind for me is Stefan Noesen, who has been a favorite of mine for a while now as a bottom 6er. He's somebody that has really played so incredibly well with Carolina over these past couple of seasons. You can see 37 points this last season in 81 games, and in the playoffs has put up some pretty good numbers too. To me, he's somebody that I would love to see the Stars go after on that third line perhaps and beef it up just a little bit. Give them some more stability, give them some more playoff type players too. To me, Nason in the prime of his career right now could do a lot of good for them. And who knows, as a Plano boy, maybe he takes a pay cut, we'll see. The good news is for Dallas, I don't think there's a lot of major moves they have to make to be a Stanley Cup winner. I mean, again, if they are able to add that bottom 6, they're able to add maybe another defenseman on top of bringing back Tanev. To me, that would be absolutely perfect, and to me would really complete the rest of the roster. Unfortunately, patience might just have to be key, but obviously, another year down the drain does not feel too good. But of course, I'm going to get over it eventually. I'm in a blessed position to be watching this team and to be in the position I'm with you guys, to be able to watch hockey for a living, and it has been absolutely magical ride. And thankfully, the Stars may get a lot better, making the playoffs and having these runs. Even though there's disappointment in the end, again, I will take it. I am fine. We will be okay. The Stars will rebuild and Stanley Cup champions in 2025. For sure. But that is it for my ranting, breakdown, preview for next offseason, whatever you want to do for the Stars team. I'm just hoping the next year is better. But if you guys enjoyed all of it, I would love to know your thoughts down below on what you guys think about the Stars' future. What do you think about the Stanley Cup final? Who do you think wins in the end? Would love to know your thoughts down below. Of course, if you guys did enjoy all of the rantings and musings, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and share the video with all the Stars fans, all the hockey fans you guys know online to see a depressed Stars fans perspective from everything. And I will see you in the next one. Actually, click on this card for all my playoff talk as well if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a great hockey day, or at least a better hockey day than I had yesterday, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.